In the heart of Africa, where the earth sings with ancestors' voices and the wind whispers ancient tales, there was once a village that stood as a testament to the resilience and wisdom of its people. This village, known as Umuofia, was a tapestry woven with the threads of unity and tradition, its colors vibrant with the spirit of community. It was here that a boy named Obinna lived, whose destiny was to become a beacon of hope in a time of shadow. Obinna was not your ordinary boy. He was born during the harvest season under the watchful gaze of the full moon, a sign that the elders said marked him for greatness. His eyes sparkled with the light of curiosity, and his heart was as vast as the savannah, brimming with compassion for his people. Obinna was known throughout the village for his sharp wit and keen sense of justice, traits inherited from his wise grandfather, the village elder. In the heart of the village stood a majestic baobab tree, under which the villagers gathered to listen to stories, celebrate festivals, and seek counsel from their elders. It was here that Obinna first heard whispers of a sinister tale brewing in their midst about a land flowing with milk and honey in the village. Obinna, the true son of his father who is a popular merchant in the village, knew that there was more to the story, and being the grandson of a wise village elder, he remembered what his grandfather told him about sinister tales like this. That they are most times parables about issues and events happening in the village at a point in time. Walking home from the village square, Obinna pondered about the tale, wondering if there was a literal land flowing with milk and honey in the village, and if there was, why it was kept from the people. He tried piecing the tale together, but to no avail. He couldn't wait to get home and ask his grandfather. On getting home, with great concerns on his face, he told his grandfather about the tale. His grandfather smiled as he looked at his grandson with joy and pride. He saw the concern on the boy's face and thought to himself, finally, someone is asking some questions. Then he began to explain the real story behind the tale. He told Obinna of how some group of hunters who came from a faraway village to hunt discovered some mysterious trees with blood-like sap oozing out from them while they were hunting. Then they came to inform the king about this wonderful discovery, in which the king compensated them with gifts and money for their honest report and sent them on their way. Then the king called for the wise village elders and chiefs about this matter. "We are rich," some of them chorused with glee of greed on their eyes. And since the village chiefs or elders too had never seen or encountered something like this before, they all came to a conclusion that those trees must be of value and might bring wealth to the village soon, even though they weren't sure of value and uses at the time. Obinna became relieved by his grandfather's explanation, but not very satisfied. He proceeded to ask his grandfather why it was kept a secret and narrated as a tale to the people of Umuofia. His grandfather told him that it was a unanimous decision by the king alongside the chiefs and elders after much tussle and deliberation to make the discovery a tale to be discovered, so that the information doesn't fall into the wrong hands in the village, and also they strongly believed in their ancestral saying that treasures are hidden in total darkness for the right hand to discover. Obinna still stood there looking far and lost in his thoughts, still worried. There was still a question in his heart. His grandfather, looking at him, lost in his thoughts, shook his head and smiled, like he knew what he was thinking about, and said, "My little one, I know even though we don't know the value or use of this mysterious tree yet, but I assure you that by the gods of our ancestors, it's not going to fall into the wrong hands. People like you are made for a time like this, my son." Obinna puffs out in relief like his boy just got popped. His grandfather added, "I know the people of Umuofia can be passive in their way of life, but when they come together in unity, they are a formidable force. But when the time comes to make a change, be careful of the yeast of the village chiefs because some are not to be trusted." Obinna, although alarmed, but understood all what his grandfather told him, kept this conversation dear to his heart. As time went by in the village, a village chief named Okonkwo, known for his cunning ways and insatiable greed, had struck a deal with foreign expatriates who came across the trees and knew the value and use of the trees instantaneously. They promised riches in exchange for the village's precious resources. Chief Okonkwo came to negotiate with Obinna's grandfather, who was the most elderly chief in the village, in the hope to join him in his venture. He said to him, "I have found people who know the worth of our discovery and are willing to pay us a huge amount of money." He continues, trying to convince Obinna's grandfather, and said, "Are you not tired of waiting for this long? Join me and let us enjoy what we can before we go to our grave. The king doesn't have to know." But the old man rejected and turned down Okonkwo. He was embarrassed and went home ashamed. Unfortunately, weeks later, the news of the death of Obinna's grandfather was brought to Okonkwo, who had mixed feelings about the news. He was excited, but also he paid homage to his old friend. He died an honorable and respectable man, at least, Okonkwo thought to himself. After the death of Obinna's grandfather, Chief Okonkwo tried to find more allies amongst the remaining village chiefs and elders. Some aligned with his plan and some rejected it. The tranquility of Umuofia was shattered when Chief Okonkwo and his collaborators planned to exploit the land for its mineral wealth, leaving the villagers impoverished and their land desolate. Also vows to take down anyone who steps in their way, giving these strangers in the land more confidence. These strangers came bearing gifts of smooth words and promises as hollow as a dried gourd. They spoke of progress and prosperity, but their eyes gleamed with the lust for the village's rich resources, the fertile land that was the cradle of Umuofia's soul. The foreigners' plan was to pay the chief some money, cut the trees, and export them back to their country. The chief, blinded by visions of power and wealth, became a puppet dancing on the strings of the expatriates' manipulation. Together, they devised a scheme to swindle the villagers, to strip them of their land and heritage under the guise of development while spreading propaganda and false promises. The village, once a chorus of harmony, was now a stage for a looming tragedy. But Obinna, with a spirit as indomitable as the Iroko tree, saw through the veil of deceit. He saw how some of the village chiefs and elders were being bought out with money while spreading lies of false development around the village. He could not bear to watch his home, the legacy of generations, be eroded like the banks of a river after the rains. Obinna knew that the essence of Umuofia was not in the richness of its soil as his grandfather told him, but in the strength and unity of its people. Armed with nothing but the truth and the courage of his convictions, Obinna embarked on a quest to unveil the chief's betrayal and wicked act. Chief Okonkwo found out about Obinna's quest and tried to bribe him out of his plans, but failed. He even tried to assassinate Obinna, but he escaped because he was popular in the village and still had loyal friends in some unlikely places. He journeyed through forest where he went to investigate the discovery site and also hide out till he gathered evidence of the conspiracy, enlisting the aid of the wise and the brave among his people. Determined to expose the chiefs and the foreigners, he spoke with the eloquence of the orators of old. He reminded the people of their ancestors' struggles and triumphs, of the sacred bond that linked them to the land and to each other. When the day of reckoning came, Obinna stood before the assembly of the village, the air heavy with anticipation. With the eloquence of a seasoned storyteller, he unraveled the tapestry of deceit woven by Chief Okonkwo, his counterparts, and the foreigners. The people of Umuofia rose as one. They confronted the chief and his cohorts, their voices a mighty river that could not be dammed. Obinna painted a picture of a future where Umuofia was but a shadow of itself, its soul sold for the trinkets and false promises of those who valued gold over the sanctity of home. Moved by Obinna's words and the undeniable truth of his message, in the end, Chief Okonkwo was stripped of his title alongside his collaborators and banished by the order of the king, and the foreigners were sent away, their schemes crumbling like dry clay in the rain. Umuofia was saved, not by the might of warriors or the wealth of kings, but by the courage of a boy who dared to stand for truth and the well-being of his village. Obinna, a legendary figure, saved his village, demonstrating the power of unity and truth in the heart of Umuofia village. His story serves as a beacon for generations, promoting peace and unity. The story of Obinna and Umuofia village demonstrates that community unity, rooted in shared values and respect, can overcome challenges and protect a community's heritage, resources, and dignity from exploitation and deceit. Thank you for watching this story today. Please comment on what you learned and think about the story. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe for more stories. Till next time, bye.